If you own a rental property or have a rental unit in your primary residence, you could be missing out on a strategy that could save you hundreds of thousands of dollars. This works even if you only have one rental property or just a basement suite. It's called rental cash damming, and it's a strategy that helps turn your non-tax deductible primary residence mortgage into a tax-deductible debt, helps you reduce your tax bill, and lets your money work smarter. There's no increase to your monthly expenses, and you can likely keep your mortgage at your existing lender. And if you're already lost, don't worry, I'm going to break it down simply so you can be confident that this is the right strategy for you. And I'll do it in under 10 minutes, the most cost-effective few minutes you've ever spent. First, let's start with some definitions so it's clear exactly what I mean when I mention the following terms. Primary residence. This is the property that you currently live in. Rental or investment property. This is the property or properties that you own which currently generate rental income. This could even include a basement suite or a separate unit like a laneway suite on your primary residence property. Tax deductible. This means that the cost can be subtracted from your income, reducing your taxable income and reducing your income taxes owing, so that any interest you pay on a tax-deductible debt can be used to lower your tax bill at the end of the year. Cash damming. This is just a fancy term for redirecting your cash flow as part of the strategy to achieve optimal tax efficiency. There will be a couple more terms defined later in the video to help your understanding of all the components. So let's take a look at the way most people structure their cash flow when they have rental properties to give us an idea of a starting point. Many people that I talk to who own rental properties still have a large mortgage on their primary residence, and they have it set up this way. You can see two distinct cash flows. On the left side, you see the rental property income coming in every month, which is used to pay the expenses on the rental property, like the mortgage payment, property taxes, etc. If there's positive cash flow, the extra funds every month can be redirected for personal use. On the right side, you see personal income coming in to pay the primary residence mortgage, and if you have negative cash flow in your rental portfolio, you are using your personal income to pay some rental expenses as well. That structure is comfortable, but it's costing you immediate tax savings and future wealth. Here's how it relates to your taxes. According to Canadian tax law, any money that you borrow to invest in an asset that has the reasonable expectation of generating income, in this case your rental portfolio, has a tax-deductible interest cost. Simply put, this means that if you're borrowing money and using it to make more money, the interest that you're paying to borrow these funds counts as an expense, just like your property taxes, maintenance, and insurance on your rental property. Here's the issue. Mortgage interest on your primary residence mortgage is not tax-deductible in Canada, but interest on debt used to generate income, like from a rental property, is. Let's take a look at how mortgage payments on most properties are structured. Your regular mortgage payment, usually called a principal and interest payment, is just that, part principal and part interest. Every payment that you make on your rental property or primary residence mortgage goes partially towards interest and partially towards the principal. Now, in most cases, the mortgage on your rental property is tax deductible unless you refinanced at one point and the proceeds went towards something that doesn't generate income. This means that when you are doing your taxes at the end of the year, you are including the interest paid on the rental property mortgage over the course of the year as an expense, along with your taxes, maintenance, insurance, etc. This is not the case for the interest paid on your primary residence mortgage. So what do we do to change that? The trick is to restructure your cash flow so that the mortgage on your primary residence becomes linked to income-generating properties. And that's where rental cash damming comes in. The centerpiece of the strategy is the mortgage on your primary residence. The goal is to convert it to a tax-deductible debt, just like the mortgage on your rental property. The way we do this is by incorporating a home equity line of credit onto your primary residence mortgage. Also called a HELOC, this is a revolving credit facility, which is like a personal line of credit or credit card, but is secured on your property just like the mortgage and has much better interest rates than any other kind of revolving credit. But just like your personal line of credit, you can withdraw and pay back with a lot of flexibility within your credit limit. The best way to get this revolving credit facility secured on your home is with a readvanceable mortgage. All banks offer this type of mortgage, and they love selling it to you because it gives you access to debt at all times, and therefore the likelihood that the bank will make more money off you. But what the bank doesn't tell you is that you can use this tool to strategically convert your plain Jane Canadian mortgage into a wealth generator. The way a readvanceable mortgage is structured involves two components. The first is the normal mortgage that you're used to, and the second is the HELOC. The two put together is your total borrowing limit. Now we know that with every regular mortgage payment that we make, a portion goes towards principal. With the readvancing mortgage, all of the principal that gets paid down becomes available in the HELOC. As your mortgage decreases, your HELOC limit grows. As you can see in our example here, we start with a $700,000 borrowing limit, and as we pay down the mortgage to $600,000, we have $100,000 available to withdraw from the HELOC at our discretion. Now that we understand the concept of a HELOC and its place in the readvanceable mortgage, let's go to our traditional way of doing things. Just to recap, we're using the rental income to pay rental expenses and our personal income to pay the primary residence mortgage. But what if we restructured the cash flow to look something like this? What if we used the rental income along with your personal income to pay the primary residence mortgage down even faster, freeing up even more room on the HELOC, and then using the HELOC to pay the rental property expenses? All of a sudden, the HELOC funds are being used to service an income-generating asset, and the interest costs become tax deductible. I'll let that sink in for a second. Since we are paying down the primary residence mortgage at an accelerated rate using the rental income along with your personal income, there's a lot more room available to borrow from the HELOC every month. You can see in this updated example the mortgage being paid down quicker, and since we are using the HELOC to pay the rental property expenses, the HELOC balance is also increasing every month. What will eventually happen is the entire primary residence debt will be completely tax deductible because the balance accrued has been used solely for servicing expenses on your rental portfolio. So what happens? Your primary residence mortgage is paid off faster, your HELOC grows with tax-deductible debt, and the result is that every year you will have an increasing amount of deductions on your personal taxes, creating bigger and bigger tax refunds that you otherwise would not have received. So let's recap with a real-world example. Here's our new improved cash flow scenario. We have a mortgage on our primary residence of $700K with 25 years left on the amortization. Our rental income of $5,000 every month from our 2 rental properties is now being redirected to the primary residence mortgage every month, along with our regular mortgage payment of $3,682. The total expenses on our rentals is $4,600 a month, and now this is taken from the HELOC to service the rental expenses. So what? You might ask, why go through all this trouble to pay off your mortgage and rack up the same amount of debt on a HELOC? Well, here are the results. If you run this strategy at full throttle, your primary residence mortgage will be completely converted to a tax-deductible debt in 7.5 years. All of the debt on your primary residence, that's the mortgage and the entire HELOC, will be completely paid off after 18 years. This saves you 7 years of mortgage payments, or about $305,000 that otherwise would have been allocated to your primary residence mortgage. And the additional tax refunds due to the increasing amount of tax-deductible debt that is claimed every year will generate between $80,000 and $120,000, depending on your personal tax bracket, over the course of those 18 years that you otherwise would not have received. In our example, your tax refund on year 5 would be $4,870, and on year 8 would be $8,458. And every year for those 18 years, you will receive refunds like this. This is non-taxable income that will be handed to you by the CRA completely within the guidelines of Canadian tax law. Let's look at it a different way. You'll be mortgage-free 7 years sooner, and if you invest those unused mortgage payments over those 7 years, you will create a liquid portfolio worth about $391,000 along with your free and clear primary residence, all from just changing the direction of your cash flow. And here's some even better news. This strategy can be executed even if the only rental income you have is from a basement unit or garden suite, and the HELOC doesn't have to be secured on your primary residence. The HELOC can be secured on the rental property, or it can even be a personal line of credit. This strategy even works if you have negative cash flow on your rental portfolio. There are so many ways that we can customize and accelerate the strategy to suit your goals, but it all starts with an assessment to determine exactly what is possible for your personal situation. So, if you own a rental property and a primary residence, or even have a rental suite, this strategy could save you thousands and shave years off your debt. There is so much more that I can dive into and create even more extraordinary results from this simple scenario, but I will save that for another video. But it needs to be done right. I specialize in setting up these mortgage structures and cash flows and would be happy to walk you through the results for your specific case. You need the right professionals on your side because the implementation is crucial to keeping everything compliant with the CRA. If you're interested in implementing the strategy for yourself, let's connect. Click the link in the description for a short pre-qualification and access to my calendar, and I look forward to chatting with you.